From LPM,
Louisville Public Media.
Support comes from Vision Zero. On foot or behind the wheel, safety is a shared responsibility. And Vision Zero Louisville believes 0 roadway fatalities is the only acceptable amount. Their mission is to create safe roads by design, engineering solutions, and education. More information at visionzerolouisville.org.
Welcome to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer. Today is National Meteor Watch Day, and whether you're a seasoned stargazer or just someone who likes to look up, there's a lot happening in the sky this summer, from meteor showers to the moon and more. To help us explore what's out there in the skies, we're joined by 2 members of the Louisville Astronomical Society who are going to help us get spaced out. Joining us is Tom Hayes, a board member of the Louisville Astronomical Society and retired audiovisual engineer with a background in physics and astronomy. Tom, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
And we're also joined by Aaron Hellems, an astronomy enthusiast and dark sky advocate who helped launch the Milky Way Festival in Crawford County, Indiana. Aaron, thanks for being here on Track.
It's a delight.
So, can you describe the moment or experience that sparked your love for astronomy? I'm going to start with you, Aaron.
For me, that would have been a very large star party that occurs each year at the Grand Canyon. My wife and I were out there, and we just kind of lucked into it. And when it got dark, there were more stars than I knew existed. It was absolutely incredible. It took my breath. One of the astronomers turned his scope to M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy. And when I realized that those objects were out there and that you could see them with amateur equipment, I was hooked. Within a year, I'd ordered my own telescope and have been looking up ever since.
What about you, Tom?
Well, I think I was always an engineering geek. And even when I was a kid, I'd be watching the sci-fi, the space shows and that sort of thing. And I remember everybody else in my class was watching 77 Sunset Strip. But I was watching space shows instead. And they all looked at me like, why do you watch that? But I didn't get into a lot of observing. I did more reading on it and some of the physics involved. And when I got into college, they offered a 4-hour astronomy class. And the woman who taught it, it was her first gig. She had just gotten her PhD in astrophysics from Columbia, at about 5'2", with a degree in astrophysics. And she got the big astronomy class. And we have remained friends over the years. When I was in grad school, I sent her a note. This is pre-internet. Hey, this summer up in Canada, there's the solar eclipse up in Nova Scotia. Do you want to go? And she sent a letter back and just said yes. That was about it. And we convoyed all the way up to Nova Scotia to see the eclipse. This is Carly Simon's eclipse. Flew your Learjet to Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
That one. So we went up to that one. And I just enjoyed doing it. I got involved in LAS. I don't know if Ken just sucked me into what. Ken is a former president. He's been with LAS forever, it seems. And I started doing stuff, and so here I am now on the board.
Aaron, how about you? How did you find LAS?
My wife found them online because she noticed how much time I was spending outside, not in bed, looking up and being ridiculous.
I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's great.
Yeah. I certainly enjoyed it, maybe too much. And so she was like, they have like this dark sky spot, which is in Kirby, Indiana. That's Crawford County. That is LAS's dark sky observatory. She's like, they have big telescopes out there. This is all around COVID time. And shortly after I joined, they were able to open the observatory back up. I would take my scope out there. I use their scope sometimes. But, that's how I come to be. And then I started helping out around the observatory, just doing the work that needed to be done, and have become more involved over time.
Can either of you, just for those who don't know, explain what a dark sky site is?
Sure. So there's kind of a scale that we use. It's kind of a numbered scale, 22 magnitudes, dark as it gets. And Kirby sits right around 21 plus. If we were here in Louisville, it's about a 17 and a half, 18, something like that. But that scale it's kind of misleading because Kirby is about 25 times darker than downtown Louisville.
Wow.
Because the scale's not perfectly linear and that and the other.
So you sort of touched on this a bit, and Tom, I'll hand this to you. What kind of things do you do as a group in LAS?
Well, we have our monthly meetings, and we usually get a guest speaker of some sort. I mentioned my college astronomy professor. She wanted to come out to see thunder over Louisville this year. So she flew out, and it got canceled.
Right.
But while she was out here, I said, we have an LAS meeting, and so she arranged to do the presentation that night.
That's really cool.
She talked about exoplanets forever. So that was just a couple of weeks ago.
So we work with a lot of local organizations that would let's do like a moon hike and then have some telescopes set up at the end. We spend some time down at Bernheim, though they have like this delightful group down there that in-house that does a beautiful job with the night sky. But we support sometimes with them. Twice a month, when the clouds cooperate, we'll have a member night at Kirby. Usually when there's a new moon, so that's when it's the darkest. The moon's not competing with the stars.
Right.
And then on one of the other weekends, we try to have a public night where everybody can come out and enjoy.
Well, that's really fun. Well, so it is summertime, the best, some people's favorite season. I'm not outing it's mine necessarily, but there tends to be a lot happening. Not only out in the world, but also in the night sky this time of year. What astronomical celestial events should we be looking up and going out for coming up on the sky watching calendar this season and really, all the way through fall? What do you know?
So right now, if we're going to talk a couple of constellations, some of the more prominent would be Ursa Major, which the most noticeable part of that is kind of the backside, the Big Dipper. It holds a lot of great deep sky objects, including M51, which I was talking about. M51 is kind of just off the border of it, but we'll count it.
Is M51 a galaxy? Or
it is. That's the Whirlpool Galaxy. It's two galaxies that they appear to be overlapping. So it seems that the bigger one, that's referred to as the Whirlpool, seems to be stripping the other of its star stuff.
Oh,
so
taking its parts.
So when you look at it through a large scope, you get to see those two kind of intermingled, and it's just breathtaking. You can see the spiral arms.
Wow,
which is a pretty incredible. So another constellation that's going to be noticeable. It's starting to get higher in the sky each night. Is Hercules, and it has two beautiful globular clusters, which is. The globular clusters are believed to be old galaxies that all of their goodness has kind of been stripped by the Milky Way. And so the stars are gravitationally bound together, and they almost look like the center of a firework, which is just astounding. And M13 is the Hercules cluster, and it is probably one of the best examples of a globular cluster in the sky. And it's got a friend just a little ways off, M92. And if it were anywhere else, it would have its own name. but because it's right next to the Hercules cluster, it sometimes gets the shaft.
It's all put into one. What about go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things I run outside and look at whenever I can is the International Space Station flying over.
Oh.
You can go to NASA's website and subscribe to it's called Spot the Station. If you Google Spot the Station, you'll find it from NASA, and they will send you an email and says, look up tonight at 6:30 from this direction to that direction. You'll see the ISS go over. I always go out and wave at the guys.
That's really cool that they do that. What about things like meteor showers or anything like that to look forward to?
I've not had a lot of luck with meteor showers. I'd go out and see maybe one or two, and maybe I'm just not dark enough. But
so I think the best opportunity will be the Perseids, which come up this year. The Perseids are supposed to peak August 12th, 13th in that general area. But the moon's going to be kind of bright.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's rude.
but it is, right? The moon
Definitely.
just, it just does not do what we tell it to.
Yes.
But each night after the 12th and 13th, the moon, it comes up a little bit later. And so one of the keys with meteor showers is getting to a dark spot. And so like Crawford County, Indiana, if you live in Louisville, that's just beautiful. There's a number of campgrounds out there because you're also going to have to wait for the constellation Perseus to come up because that's where most of the meteors are going to come from. And that's going to be later in the night.
Okay, so you have
we're
to
talking 2, 3 o'clock. Take a comfy chair, a hammock, a blanket, and just kind of be ready. But that if you want to see them, that particular the Perseids can be 60 plus meteors.
Yeah.
An hour at its peak. Which if you go later in the month, it's not going to be at its peak, but you can still see plenty. The darker skies let you see the fainter meteors.
I do know I did last year when you were saying it this time, I resonated with, I went looking for the Perseids and I lived in Minnesota at the time,
Oh.
but I found the northern lights instead, which was really wild. No one was there, which seemed like nobody knew this was going to happen. But actually this year is a big year for the northern lights. The solar activity is really high. And I know Kentucky did get a chance to see them earlier or
Last
late
October,
last year.
yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think there's a chance this year? I don't know that we can predict this, but I just thought I might ask those who are more expert than I.
Well, the funny thing about the Northern Lights in Kentucky last year, I was determined to see the Northern Lights, so I went to Iceland last October.
Oh, wow.
And we went out freezing our little tails off out at midnight to go looking. And I'm looking at Facebook on my phone, and there's people posting pictures of the Northern Lights in Kentucky. And I'm like, what? I've just paid a lot of money to come here.
Did you see it at least?
Oh, they were beautiful.
Oh, good.
It's beautiful. But,
You probably had a better view, we'll
I
just
think
say.
so. And I keep when it's in the news, it may be up. I go look at online at one of the sites showing where the Northern Lights would be, and I never see it come down to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
So it'd be a
maybe-
rare
Yeah.
occurrence if it did again.
That particular storm, though, you were in Iceland, but we were in Folly Beach, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And we went out onto the beach, and where we were oriented, you could look north, and it was perfectly dark. And we could see that particular night. We could see the northern lights from Folly Beach. It was
That's
faint,
amazing. Yeah.
and it showed up really well on a camera.
See,
But it was an amazing storm.
And that's key, right? Is sort of like where you go, which Aaron, you touched on a little bit. But for any of these viewing opportunities, are there any dark sky parks, or other than what you mentioned? Of course, there's LAS's, but other go-to spots in the Kentuckiana area you'd recommend for stargazing, especially for folks who don't want to drive too far.
In the past, I've gone out to Long Run Park on the east side of town. It's not too bad as long as the parking lot lights aren't on or not too bright.
Right.
So I've gone out there for maybe comets or meteor showers.
Bernheim Forest is not a far drive, and they're far enough out of town that they're starting to get like a lot darker than the Louisville area. If you want to drive a little further, or if you live more in the central part of the state, Red River Gorge is just amazing. And then we actually do have an international dark sky park down at Mammoth Cave.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the one in Kentucky. That's the one international dark sky park that does exist in Kentucky.
It's the national park.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize. That's exciting. Well, another thing that Kentucky has that's exciting, and this is maybe parallel in some way, it's truly rare that we have a moonbow that appears at Cumberland Falls, and it's one of the only places in the world you can see one regularly. Do you know what has to come together for that to happen, and have either of you had a chance to see it?
I have not seen it. I don't think I've heard that term before.
I've only seen pictures, and I'll be stepping out a little bit of my area, but my guess is it's that waterfall is big enough, and it produces enough mist that whenever the moon is full and the light comes through, the mist acts as a prism, and there you go. Is my best shot at it.
And that would be my theory too, but
Yeah.
I would assume you'd see rainbows during the day too.
Oh, I mean, that's fair.
The sun's a lot brighter than the moon is.
But moonbow sounds better.
Yeah, I know.
It just sounds so celestial, right? Well, it is National Meteor Watch Day today. Does LAS have anything planned, or do you have any insights on maybe what it's like to see a meteor or why that is special?
I don't believe we have anything planned for Meteor Watch Day.
We don't. June
Yeah.
June 30th isn't necessarily it's before the Perseids.
Right.
And so it's not necessarily for our location the best time to see it. Like I spoke earlier about August and getting to a dark place. That's really the bread and butter.
Yeah.
For finding those at that time.
And Aaron, outside of the national holiday, you helped create the Milky Way Festival. How did that idea come about, and what happens at this event?
Oh, that's the work of a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we work closely with Crawford County Tourism, Cave Country Canoe, which is one of the host locations, and Sycamore Springs Park, and those folks are just the best, right? So it's a big star party, and last year was our first year. We hope to grow it, kind of year after year. So we'll be doing it again this year, and it'll be in August, right at the tail end of the Perseids. So that is a great opportunity for folks to see some great meteors, along with the Milky Way naked eye, which is, if I had to say, like one of the coolest naked eye objects, that would be it. And Crawford County is one of the few places in the area where you can still do that, and that's because of their low light pollution levels.
Is that at the LAS dark site, or is it a separate site?
So our dark site is in Crawford County.
Okay.
But we host it at Sycamore Springs Park and at Cave Country Canoe.
Very cool.
Yeah, and their facilities are a little more well suited for that event.
And are there any other events or star parties? Oh, and I should say, I feel like I've been talking about star parties, but can we identify what a star party is for someone who might not know?
Sure. A star party, basically everyone's invited to come out, and if it's at Kirby, of course, we have the big telescopes out there, but everyone will bring their own scope. It's helpful. I get this question all the time on the website. I just bought a scope, but I don't know how to use it. What should I... Come to a star party. There'll be tons of people who will show you how to use your scope. I know we have one at Kirby. Well, there's a member night this past Saturday. Then we alternate with the public nights in there, plus lots of Boy and Girl Scout troops doing overnights out there to get their little astronomy merit badge. So the place is busy.
So lots of events, it seems like, that is continuously happening throughout the year, and opportunities to learn. Well, thank you so much. We'll be back with more in a moment. You're on track with Louisville Public Media. Welcome back to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer, and we're talking with Tom Hayes and Aaron Hellems from the Louisville Astronomical Society about how to experience the wonders of the night sky here in Kentucky and southern Indiana. So, Tom, most cities have tools to help people understand the night sky, like planetariums. I understand you're part of a group working to preserve the one at U of L. Can you share what's going on there?
Yes. Of course, it closed down with COVID, and they saw it as a good opportunity to maybe update the equipment, but it aged, and now the university doesn't seem to want to fund it. So there's discussion about just closing it and repurposing the building for something else. And there's this little grassroots committee that's just getting started to save the planetarium. As the webmaster for LAS, I offer them a little bit of space on our websites. If you go to our website, under news, you'll see something on planetarium, and there's articles about saving it and how you can sign a petition and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, beyond the U of L planetarium, are there other places in the region? I mean, we've talked about LAS has public telescopes and there's an observatory there. Are there other places where people can get that kind of hands-on connection with the night sky that are like nearby?
Well, we have our monthly meeting out at the Parklands at Floyd's Fork. And after the meeting, usually some people show up and they run out in the backfield and they'll get out their telescopes. So the meeting goes maybe 45 minutes and then another hour of looking at scopes. And that's a lot closer and very convenient.
Yeah. Well, very interested to hear how that all pans out. Aaron, I want to turn to you regarding your work on dark sky preservation. What does that actually look like in practice, and what first sparked your interest in protecting our view of the night sky?
So what first sparked my interest was the fact that I could go to Kirby and I could see detail in galaxies. I could see galaxies and sometimes you could see 3 or 4, 5 at a time. And then when I go back home and look up from my backyard, I can't find them. So that got me interested in like understanding what sky quality is and what it means to be darker in one area versus another. Which, if you pop those concepts into Google, the first thing that comes up is Dark Sky International. So I started learning about the basic lighting principles that help reduce light pollution. And a common misconception is that to reduce light pollution just means don't have light. And it's the intelligent use of light. So as much as you need, pointed down, a warm color, all of those little adjustments make a big difference in what you can see.
Can you name sort of like what that really looks like in practice? Like what those small practical changes that individuals can do to kind of reduce that light pollution that is safe for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I like that you said safe, because it is individualized, and it does have to be to each person's where they feel safe, because we don't all live in the same place, and people have different feelings about their safety. And so we want people to feel safe. But I can give examples from like my own home. I used to use 5,000 K lights, and I would have 3 or 4 of them out front, and the fixtures weren't shielded. They would blast 600, 800 lumens each. Well, what I discovered was that what I really needed was like something closer to 2,200 K in color, which is much more orange than bright white. I only needed about a 1-watt bulb, which gave about 80 lumens. So I cut it by like the amount of light by like 90%, made it orange, put a shield on it. And then what I discovered was that most of the time I don't even need those on. So if we're going to go for a walk and I can see, so I can come back onto the porch, right? I'll leave them on, but then I'll turn them back off whenever I leave. At a larger level, for towns, for cities, I think it's being mindful of how many lumens you're using per acre. Getting your lights closer to 2,700 K so that short wavelength blue light doesn't bounce all over the place. Making sure that they're pointed down and that they have shields. It's one of the few pollutions that's really easy to fix. Yeah.
I never knew. It's interesting to hear about. Well, I want to turn to you now, Tom. For those who are just starting to explore the night sky, what's a good place for them to begin?
Well, one of the applications that's on my phone, I use it when we're out at the general meetings, out at the parklands. People would bring their scopes, and in order to look up, there is an app called Skyview. You can find that online. And what it does is it looks at the position of the phone and where the phone is pointing and shows you on the phone screen what you're looking at as far as stars. It'll show you planets. It'll show you satellites going over the space station. And you can just turn the thing and zoom in and see, oh, that's Arcturus. Okay, and we know which one it is. There's another one called Sky Portal. Very much does the same thing, but it lets you search. You can say Orion, type it in, and the display will go right to that. One app I use just for weather, it's called Clear Outside. And you put in your geographical coordinates, and it'll tell you the cloud cover. Is it worth even going outside tonight, and how bright it is, or is it foggy, and what the visibility is. And it's more accurate, it seems, than the weather forecast.
Yeah, because cloud cover is huge, right, for star viewing.
Oh, for sure.
Those are great tools. Aaron, do you have any others?
Well,
Tom, sorry.
I was going to say, we talked a little bit before about the meteors. One of the things we have at Kirby, at the observatory, is an all-sky camera system.
Wow.
That's I think it's a 7-camera little half dome that's up on the roof on top of a tall pole. And it's networked with other systems in other states and other astronomy clubs, universities, what have you. And it just looks for meteors. Nice thing about having multiple locations, if you see a streak across the sky in your camera, you could say, well, it was going from here to here. And maybe the camera in Kansas City saw the same thing at the same time, but it was going this way. And from multiple locations, you can actually plot, is it going up, down, left, right, and get a much better path of it. And if you go to our website, look at our observing venues, there's a link in there in Kirby where you can actually plug into the Skyview camera and see what it's looking at right now.
Wow.
And get some history off of that.
That's so amazing. Mm-hmm. There's all these tools out there that I just never would have imagined. Aaron, do you have any other tools that you want to add to the list?
I'll take us back in time a little bit and talk. and before the day of the app, there, and we still have them, right? So there's all these beautiful atlases of the sky. And you can use those. They'll plot stars down to fairly dimmer than what you can see with the naked eye. And then you use that to find the objects by hand through your telescope. And so having a map or an atlas of the sky is a delightful way to learn hands-on about the sky and how it moves and finding the objects within it.
That's really cool. Yeah. And it sounds like sort of like, if you don't have a telescope, you can still kind of plot it, whether it's on an app or whether on the atlas, to kind of like as you're working up to that. These all sound like amazing stargazing tools, really. So I want to ask for someone who, if there's just like a few simple things you'd suggest for someone's stargazing toolkit, even if they don't have access to a telescope, what would you say are like the essentials to have with them when we're going out and looking in the night sky?
Well, I would say about access to a telescope, the Louisville Public Library loans telescopes. I believe they have about 9 of them now. And you can check them out for a week at a time. And we've provided some of them. Some other people have given us grants to buy scopes to put at the libraries. So they are available. Of course, the wait list is a mile long, but
right. Okay.
So you get a telescope for free and try it.
And then, of course, the public events with LAS as well.
Right.
Well, I really appreciate you both being here on track. Tom, Aaron, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Tom Hayes is a board member of the Louisville Astronomical Society and a retired audiovisual engineer with a background in physics and astronomy. And Aaron Hellems is a member of LAS and co-organizer of the Milky Way Festival in Crawford County, Indiana. On Track is a production of Louisville Public Media. The On Track production team includes Michelle Tyreen Johnson, Alex Biscardi, and Laura Ellis. Our music is by Kojin Toshiro. If you're just tuning in and you want to hear the full show, you can find it now at LouisvilleOnTrack.org or in your favorite podcast app. And let's continue the conversation. Is there something you want to hear about, something that matters to your Kentuckiana experience? Let us know by sending us a text or giving us a call at 502-814-TALK or send an email to ontrack@lpm.org. I'm Aisha Jaffer, and remember, when lights stay low, then the cosmos can show. Until next time, you're on track with Louisville Public Media.